Gratitude Isn't Love is a tender yet piercing exploration of what happens when kindness and duty are mistaken for love, and how, sometimes, true love is discovered not at the beginning but along the way. Lucy, an ambitious young woman from a struggling family, meets Paul, a middle-aged man whose quiet generosity reshapes her life. He pays her university fees, supports her mother's medical care, and gives her the stability she never imagined possible. Out of gratitude and pressure, Lucy marries him, stepping into a life of security but not affection. Though Paul loves her deeply and selflessly, Lucy cannot return his devotion with the intimacy of love. Their marriage becomes a careful rhythm of duty and silence, bound together by their daughter and Paul's unwavering support. But the unspoken truth, that Lucy is grateful but not in love, begins to erode the foundation of their relationship. But in the course of events, Lucy learns to love Paul. Let's see how their love unfolds.
It was raining the day I met him, not the kind of gentle rain that brings poetry and romance, but the type that pounds rooftops, floods gutters, and seeps deep into your bones. I stood at Ashimoto Station, soaked in a faded blue uniform, clutching a polythene bag that held my results slip, a cold meat pie, and the last stretch of my hope. That's when he pulled up in a black Toyota Camry. It was sleek, clean, and calm, a contrast to the chaos swirling around us. "Are you all right?" he asked, leaning across the passenger seat. I blinked against the rain and hesitation. "No," I answered honestly. He offered me a ride. I declined. But he parked anyway, stepped out with an umbrella, and walked me to a nearby kiosk. We sat on 2 wooden crates. He ordered food I didn't touch. That was the beginning, not roses, not butterflies. Just quiet concern in the middle of a storm. He was 46. I was 18. We didn't fall in love. We fell into rhythm. He started visiting. Helped me get passport photos. Walked me through university applications. Paid my admission fees without a word. The neighbors called me lucky. My mother called him a blessing. I stayed silent. By 20, I wore his name like a borrowed dress, flattering to others, but tight in all the wrong places. We married quietly in court. I wore cream. He wore a grey suit and pride. I smiled through the reception, even though my chest felt heavy. He never demanded more than loyalty. And that, I gave. He made sure I never lacked. Through undergrad, I never queued for food. I had enough of everything: books, shelter, safety. He bought me my first laptop, then upgraded it without me asking. When I graduated, he handed me 20,000 Sadie's business capital. "Start something of your own," he said. "Be independent." I did. The fashion studio still displays his photo at the front desk. Founder's Muse, the frame says. He paid my brother's medical school fees. Took my mother to specialists after her stroke. Made sure she had a caregiver, even when she couldn't speak his name. He loved me. But I didn't love him. Not the way wives do. Our daughter is 5 now. She has his eyes, my stubbornness, and a love for building blocks. He plays with her every evening, even when tired. When she had an asthma attack last year, he didn't sleep for 4 nights. I watch them and wonder, how can I not love this man? I try. I cook his favorite dishes. I lie beside him when he asks. I type "I love you" into messages. But saying it aloud feels like reciting lyrics to a song I never believed. He knows. He's not blind. "You don't look at me the way you look at your sewing," he said once. I laughed. But his eyes stayed sad. It happened over dinner. A quiet Thursday. I was ladling stew when he set his spoon down. "Lucy, are you happy?" I paused. "Why?" He leaned in slightly. "Because I feel like I'm the only one pretending. And it's breaking me." The silence that followed was sharp. "I'm grateful," I whispered. "That's not what I asked." I stared at the floor. "I don't know how to love you." He nodded. Not surprised. Like he had known for years but had hoped things would change. Then he asked, so softly I almost missed it, "Do you want to leave?" I didn't answer that night, not with words. I cleared the dishes. Washed the pots with trembling hands. Then I sat beside our daughter until she drifted off, a Lego piece still clutched in her hand. But the truth had already slipped out. It hung in the air like a verdict. He didn't bring it up the next day. Left for work without his usual goodbye kiss. No texts. No calls. Just silence and that question still sitting between the salt and pepper shakers on the dinner table. That night, we lay in the same bed like strangers. I wanted to reach for him. But what do you say to the person you just hurt without even raising your voice? It started with looks. Whispers. May Misi at the studio gave me a knowing glance. My cousin leaned in during a visit and asked, "Your husband looks tired. Everything okay?" I shrugged. "Or maybe it's another woman," she joked. I nearly laughed. The only other woman in his life is our daughter. And sometimes I think he clings to her like a lighthouse, something steady when everything else feels lost. Then came the gossip. She married him for money. It won't last. He trapped her. She's waking up now. And maybe, just maybe, they weren't wrong. 3 days after that dinner, he came home early. I was in the kitchen, slicing okra. He stood in the doorway with an envelope in his hand. "I've transferred half the studio shares into your name," he said. I froze. "What?" "I also spoke to your brother. He knows. He'll support you if you decide to take some space." The knife clattered onto the board. "You think I'm leaving?" "I think." His voice broke. "I don't want you to stay because you owe me." That night, he took a mattress to the living room. Said he needed time. So did I. There's a kind of grief that doesn't come from death. I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at his empty pillow. Still shaped like his head. Still smelling like lemon aftershave. I buried my face in it and wept, not for comfort, but for release. I thought about everything. The way he stayed up proofreading my level 200 project. How he surprised me with a signboard for the studio. His awkward, joyful dancing at my graduation. How he once told my mother, "Don't worry. I'll take care of her." He gave me everything. But still, my heart hadn't chosen him. And that felt like betrayal. It was a Sunday. Church was unusually quiet. After service, we drove to Labadee Beach. Our daughter played in the sand. We sat on plastic chairs, watching waves crash and pull. "I'll stay," I finally said, "if you can forgive me for not loving you the way you deserve." He looked at me. "And if I can't? Then I'll go." The wind carried our silence away. Then he said, "Let's give it one more year. As ourselves. No pretending." Somehow, that scared me more than divorce. The agreement was unspoken, no signatures, no ultimatums. Just space. Polite conversations. Separate rooms. Parallel routines. But in that quiet, I began to see him. Not as the man I married, but as the man he truly was. The fire came on a Wednesday. I was on the roadside when Tony, our studio assistant, called. Breathless. Panicked. "Madam. Fire. The machines, the backroom, it's burning." I ran barefoot, forgetting everything. When I arrived, smoke poured from my design room. My sanctuary. I froze. Then I saw him, Paul, rushing into the smoke. People shouted. Firemen warned. He didn't care. He emerged coughing, face blackened, arms wrapped around my sketchbooks like sacred scrolls. "Why would you do that?" I cried, holding his soot-streaked face. "You built your future in there," he said, coughing. I couldn't let it burn. And something inside me finally melted. He spent the night in the hospital. I never left his side. In his restless sleep, he murmured my name. I brushed the hair from his forehead and remembered the night I told him I didn't love him. How calmly he accepted it. How he still chose me anyway. The next morning, when he opened his eyes and saw me, he smiled. "You stayed," he whispered. "I never left," I replied. And for the first time in 9 years, I kissed him, freely. It didn't happen overnight. Love grew slowly, quietly, like roots beneath soil. I noticed things. How he still fixed our daughter's socks each morning. How he checked the oil in my car every Sunday. How he apologized, even when I was the one at fault. One night, I reached for his hand. "I think I'm falling for you." He didn't respond. Just turned off the lamp and held me until morning. We began dating years after our marriage. He brought me pineapple juice and plantain chips after work. Sat beside me at the studio while I sewed. We took slow walks at Legan Gardens, rediscovering each other. Our daughter noticed. "You and Daddy are best friends now." I smiled. Something like that. Then came the night I found him on the bathroom floor. 3:12 a.m. Unconscious. Pale. Barely breathing. "A mild stroke," they said. "Caused by stress. He needs rest." No emotional pressure, the doctor warned. He came home quieter. Slower. And one night, he said, "I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of leaving before you love me completely." I held his hand. "I already do. I just didn't know how to show it before." We started a new routine. I read to him each morning, sometimes poetry, sometimes old journal entries. I was scared, one entry read. Not because he was cruel, but because he was kind. And I didn't know how to accept that without feeling indebted. He wept. Then one day, he read from a page he'd written himself. "You don't owe me your heart. But if you give it, I will protect it for life." That was the day I finally said it first. "I love you, Paul." No guilt. No doubt. Just love. 3 years later, we planted a mango tree. He called it marking time. Our daughter named it Promise. I didn't ask why. I already knew. Sometimes, the guilt returns when I fold his clothes, or when he laughs in his sleep. But he always reminds me, "You didn't waste time. You just needed it. And I waited because you were worth it." We're not flashy. No social media tributes. No matching outfits. Just quiet, enduring love. He still writes me notes. "Don't forget to breathe. You're my home." And I leave him voice messages. "I miss you when it's quiet. You're the best decision I almost didn't make." On our 12th anniversary, I gave him a letter. "I married you by circumstance. I stayed out of duty. But somewhere in the quiet, you gave me space to heal and choose. You didn't rescue me. You waited. And when I was ready, you were still there. Thank you for showing me that love doesn't always start with sparks. Sometimes it begins with shelter. I love you, Paul. Truly. Freely. Finally. Always." He read it slowly. Folded it carefully. Then kissed me like it was the first time. Not the first kiss we shared. But the first one that truly mattered. And this time, my heart said yes. All on its own.